So welcome to the demonstration for the Talawa mobile app and also for the Talawa admin app. And this is open mostly to university students. The Jamaican software development community has also been invited as well, both the Flutter developers and the Make Better WhatsApp group as well. The Palisades Foundation, as some of you may know, is a foundation that was created in order to promote Jamaican software development on the island, and most specifically to ensure that open source starts to get more and more recognition on the island as well. So we've been doing open source scholarships over the summer for the last 5 or 6 years. And this summer we got sponsorship from the Google Summer of Code, where 5 students got involved with it, and all under the guidance of Jamaican mentors. We also had 3 students for the GitHub externship, which is run by Microsoft India, and those students were also mentored mostly by Jamaican mentors as well. The projects that you're going to see now were originally started by Jamaican students and then developed by students internationally as well. So they consist of 3 major sections. There is the Talawa mobile app, which is geared towards making sure that students, community organizations, small businesses, small teams, sports clubs, things like that, can get access to improved communications through the mobile app. And the way that's done is that we've managed to compile a number of features that are very common in a number of well-known mobile apps as well. So there's chat features like WhatsApp, there's a news feed similar to like LinkedIn slash Instagram. We also have calendaring and some very rudimentary project management skills and task management applications as well. Then we also have in addition to the mobile app, we also have the web application, and what that does is it allows the management of the mobile app across multiple organizations. So the whole idea is that you could potentially have multiple organizations running on the API system that we have. And as a result of that, what that means is that you could potentially have, for example, a citywide sports club. You could have, or a citywide organization like, for example, Kingston and St. Andrew Netball Association. They could potentially have clubs from different parts of the city being part of the Talawa application, but then each club would be able to have their own separate sections, all administered by the board of directors of the Netball Association. So before I continue, I just want to let you know we have 2 of the Google Summer of Code mentors that are on the call today. They are Jason, who has been working with us on the Talawa app for a number of years, and then we also have Troy Anderson as well. Jason is going to be talking primarily on the Talawa admin side, on the web application side, and Troy will be talking about the mobile app as well.
All right. I can see it. All right, awesome. So thanks again, guys, for coming out tonight. As Peter mentioned earlier, Talawa is a modular open source project to manage group activities of both non-profit organizations and businesses. So today, my role is to just bring you through some of the core functionality of the app, which is basically joining organizations, showing news feeds, events, and chats. So I already have it pre-installed on this emulator right here. So I'm going to go ahead and open the app and basically guide you through what we've done over the summer so far. So Talawa. Okay, so the app was designed to support multiple languages. So as you see, the app starts by prompting the user to select a language. As you know, it's an open source application. So if you have a language that you think needs to be supported, or you have users who need to read in let's say, I'm trying to think of a language that isn't already here, but any language of such, you can always make a pull request to get that added. So I'm assuming most of us speak English, so I'm going to start off with English. select. The goal of the application is to not be, or should I say, fully dependent on one server. So you really start off by inputting a server URL inside this input field here. So that would usually be given to you by your administrator. So just for this instance of testing, we have one here that we prepared ahead of time. Let me validate that. So you click verify. So it just checks that the link is correct. Then you click sign up. No, naturally I'm giving a loading prompt as it checks the server and checks that I can sign in.
So,
Here are. So, all right. So after you enter your server URL, you're prompted to select an organization. So I'm going to select this one, RT.org2. So selecting the organization, to load again, I can hit continue. Then this is where I enter my login details. So, all right, my name is Troy. So let's go with that. Troy Anderson, enter registered email. So I had a test email just for this demonstration here. I'm gonna go ahead and paste that in. There we go. Enter a password. So your password has to have the requirement of close your eyes. So the capital letters, numbers, and a symbol. We'll check that. I think I did that correctly. Then next, to validate if my password is incorrectly. So make it just to ensure that password and confirm passwords are the same, so on and so forth. And there we are. One of the nice things about the application that we have is an app tour. So as a first-time user, you wouldn't be privy to what anything in the app is about. So you can go. On your initial launch, you'll see a start app tour to know about Talawa app. You can go skip or start, but I'll start it for this demonstration. And so now, as you see, it zooms into the top of the screen, which shows you the current selected organization. You click next. Now it displays that this section here, you can click this to see additional options and features in the app. So if I expand that there, it shows you my selected organization as well as list of organizations that I have already selected that I can switch between. Next, I can join new organizations, leave the current one, as well as if you go down to the bottom nav bar, it will show you the different icons. So right now we have the home icon, which basically gives you the latest posts that is available to your organization or to your account. So here it goes to a specific section on the home screen. So it displays all the important posts set by the organization admin. Now we're onto the event section. So here you can see all events related to your organization. So important information and things that should happen in the future that's set by your admin or admins that you have in the organization. You can also filter this information. If you're trying to find a specific event, you can filter by date or name. So I'll show it a bit. And here is a demo. Well, not demo. I post this event in advance when I was testing earlier. So Talawa Demo Day 2021. I'll create a new event in a bit. But with the add event button, you can also add your own event. So now we're on the post screen. So this is where you can create a post. So for members in your organization to see, and we have chat where members of the organization can speak to each other and share information. And here we have the profile section that has more details about you as a user, as well as settings and such and so on and so forth. So app settings, help, donate us button. So if an organization has, for example, it's a non-profit, it will probably have a donation link or something of the sort. That is also configurable in Talawa admin, as well as invite buttons. So you can invite people so you can invite colleagues, as well as trusted logo button and just some policy branding right here. And that was the run through of basically the application tour. So I can go back to the event section, for example, and show you how I would be able to add an event. So clicking add event. Oh, I don't have an image on this device right now, but all right, let's skip image for now. So add an event name. So let us say back to school group conference. Or yeah, back to school group. That's the event name. Location, UTech, I cannot spell, campus. Add description. We meet as a team to discuss, uh, let's see, requirements for back to school. Then you can select your start date. So, back to school, so this is more likely September, sometime in the morning. So the idea is to make the app as intuitive as possible. So we try to make use of a lot of icons instead of wording for some things for things we can, all in the name of accessibility. Then you can select an end date as well. So let us say this is a 3-day event. This ends on a Friday at a specific time, PM. You can choose between keeping it public or private. Um, Keep the event registerable, so that way members of the organization, when they come and see the event, they can register to the event. So that way you as an admin can know who will be showing up to the event itself. After you go through the settings and everything here is as you see fit. You can click add, and then give that a moment there, and the event will be added. So you have to kind of give this a moment to kind of load. But and it should show up here soon. Among other features that are available in the app. Currently, most things are only in a demoable I should say, state. So, for example, chat isn't as complete as yet. So it's on one of our, it's one feature that's on our timeline as well. So it is an open source application. So you can always pull the code, make a PR, and make any changes that you think you would recommend, or you just want to contribute and build up your skill. That's also good. App settings, you can change the theme. So we have light and dark theme, as well as language, as you saw earlier. Is there anything else I'm missing here, Peter?
You could probably talk about the events and the purposes of the admins and that stuff. That might be useful.
Okay. I was gonna kind of leave that to Jason, since he is actually showing the admin panel. So for example, here's the event now that I added recently. So back to school group, I can click it and see details of the event. So the title created by, some of this is dummy data that we need to update, and see we have a dummy icon since I did not upload an icon, and admins and attendees. So these are all changes that we have in our issues section to be adjusted soon, actually, if there's not already a PR for these.
Okay, so one of the other features that we have with the events also is that you can assign people tasks for the events as well. So, for example, if you have a wedding, you can assign certain people the task of handling the food, handling the flowers, handling um, the bridal dress, etc. And so, as a result of that, people can look at the event itself and know who's responsible for what. The aim is that those people, if you are in a part of an event, the aim is also that you would create an automatic group chat for all the participants or all the attendees. So therefore, you can automatically create a grouping and a sense of community around that event immediately as a part of the app. Because right now, for example, if you use WhatsApp, you have to create the groups yourself, and it's not really focused around a specific event. And so the idea is that we would really wanted to see how we can make this more of a social app to make it more user friendly for persons. So this app is written in Flutter, which is one of the major frameworks that we're using for the Talawa app as well, or for the whole Talawa suite. Troy, is there anything else that you'd like to show?
Nothing else comes to mind right now. Yes, we use Flutter for the app. So the whole idea is, to have that cross-platform development experience, and to keep the experience pretty uniform between iOS and Android. And I think that's basically it. I think a lot more will be covered when Jason shows the admin panel. So it shows what administrators will be doing.
Okay.
Actually, Troy, one thing that you could show off quick is the themes in the profile section.
Oh, I mean like this.
Yes, just on the fact that we have configurable preferences that are persistent across the thing.
So yeah, I showed this earlier, but I guess I didn't actually go through the app in light theme. So this is the app currently in light theme.
So we had a question about chat, and you had mentioned that you had some information on that.
Oh, there's a question in the chat?
There was a question in the chat, request asking about chat in the app.
Oh, okay. So chat is one of our functionalities that we want to push out. Currently, from what I'm seeing here, is still in testing phase, because I'm seeing here we have, I think, dummy data coming up, but I'm not seeing that come up here now, which is odd. So I may have to review this, because it's not impossible that this could be a bug, but we probably have an issue for this. If not, we can make one and we just have a PR for it in a bit.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, thanks a lot. And Jason, if you can get ready and with your presentation on the side, that'd be good too.
Yeah, I can present now, actually.
All right, so I'll just stop sharing my screen. All right, thank you guys.
All right, let me just share this window now. Okay, are you guys seeing? Oh, is the mic unmuted?
Yes, we can see.
Okay, yeah. So this is Talawa admin, the management board for Talawa, and it's a fairly new project, but the need for it kind of arose when we realized that there was actually no way to actually manage Talawa directly. So first of all, I'll log in. Currently, there's no way to create a user from the front end, so we'd have to do it on a GraphQL API. So I'll just log in with a user I predefined. So you can either log in as a super admin or log in as a regular admin, depending on your user type. So when you log in as super admin, you actually see the list of organizations within Talawa that you can manage. So, but before that, you can actually create organizations by just simply entering your name. Say I'm making the UWI for short, and say I make UWI as a university. I can then now manage UWI and its members. So Talawa admin also always see the people within the organization. Since I'm running this locally with a local Talawa API instance, I only have myself as the current user. So admins and regular members are listed as users or members within the organization. And it also allows you to create posts within the organization. As you saw in Troy's presentation, where posts were displayed for the app, you can actually create posts which are similar to notifications in the app on where organization or a blog in a sense. So of course, so you could actually use to produce course notifications within a group. And then you can insert image and video similar to like an email, and you can actually make posts just like a blog, and the posts get displayed in a list form. You can actually delete them as well. So basically the CRUD operations creates and deletes. Can't quite update posts to the admin panel as yet. Oh, oops. You can also say contributions made from donations. So this would fetch contributions from the API and actually make notes of where donations were made. You can manage events, but I noticed that this feature is currently broken on the admin panel. But yeah, that's essentially the core functions of admin panel right now. Ideally, we'd actually say analytics on the organization right here and the location. As you can say, description of organizations here, I'll also be able to edit these fields, but those functionalities are to be added. We are currently working on a plugin strategy as well, where organizations can actually install a plugin, say it's a donation management plugin. They install donation management, and then they can manage all the donations made to their organization, possibly through the contributions tab or advanced social media integrations. So that's essentially the summary of Talawa Admin. It's not a whole lot because it's a fairly new project, so it has a lot of room for growth. But yeah, that concludes my demo, actually.
Okay, thanks. We have some questions. Let's see, we got one from Jante Lecky, and she's asking whether an organization admin can also create new organizations or just the super admins.
Oh, just the super admin, because the super admin manages all organizations, but organization admin manages their own organization. So how would you, similar to like a course lecturer managing the course, and then a UA admin managing all the courses at UA. Same, yeah. So that's similar to the workflow.
It should also be noted that you can also, in the mobile app, select which organization you want to join. So that's something that can happen too. So when you start the app, you put in the URL for the API system, and then after that you can select which of the various organizations you want to join up with. And as a result of that, then you see the events, the posts for that particular organization. And then you can switch back and forth between the various organizations depending upon whether you've been admitted to the organization by the admin for that organization. And so it's
Yeah.
one large user group that has a choice of participating in all the sub-organizations that are there. So using the same example that Jason had with the university, you could have students in multiple faculties going into different courses for the same faculty or for different faculties as a result of this. All right, so we've got another question. So an
Okay,
organization
so
admin is a member that has been promoted to an admin position by the super admin. Yes, that is true.
the tech stack for Talawa admin is just React Bootstrap and React.js with TypeScript. So React Bootstrap for the component library, and the core components are written. The core framework is React with TypeScript. Okay, so you can actually contribute by going to the Palisades Foundation's repositories. Well, the Palisades Foundation GitHub organization. From there, you'd actually see the Talawa ecosystem actually pinned. And depending on the project you'd like to contribute to, you can look through the list of issues as well. But also there's a contributing guide in the repositories which outlines the steps that you would need to take to make a contribution, your first contribution.
You can also go to slack.palisades.org and join the Slack channel that we have. And so you can just go to http://slack.palisades.org and you'll be redirected to a link that you can click on. But please remember that you need to have a Slack account first, and then once you've done that, then you can join in. We have channels for each of the individual repositories, and that if you start participating in that, people will give you advice as to what to do next. Okay. Troy, could you share your screen again so we can see the mobile app? I think it'd be good for people to see how you can switch between organizations.
Yeah, sure. Give me one moment. All right, can you see?
Yes.
All right. All right, let's go. All right. So, all right. So let me join another organization. Just give me a moment here. Let's join this one. So join selected organization. All right, so I think it should be there. And then that way, so now you can see that I have two organizations in my left panel and I can just switch between. So right now it shows that currently I am at RT org 2. So let me just switch to this one and pretty much just like that. So as you can see now, the events are different from before. So event check-in, try title. So these were all just test events that we did when testing out the application.
All right, so we have another question in which Janti is asking, why allow an event to be scheduled to start on a date that has already passed? And so that's a very good question. And we don't have a complete test set. I mean, sometimes people may want to have events that's happened in the past. It's probably unlikely. For example, I can't think of an example right now, but that could be something that we could put in as a part of the validity testing for creating an event. And as we've said before, we're looking for people to help participate and add to the code base so that we can make sure that it's more robust.
I'm thinking a consideration could be for recurring events as well. So we'll probably when we reach that state, we'll probably see events on your calendar that said, okay, this happened yesterday, but it's actually a yearly event.
Yeah, so Jan's asking, why not use a visual indicator to highlight the organization that you're currently in?
Oh, that's a very good point, because when you switch to Leffy, you realize that it wasn't entirely intuitive. So that's one key component that we kind of want the app to have for everything to just be intuitive. So that's actually a very valid point. You could go ahead and just make an issue for that as a matter of fact, and you could make a PR for that, where it probably just highlights the selected organization.
The question is, where would we put that? Would we just put that in the right? So once you're inside the once you've selected the organization, we need to see that on every screen, probably at the very top, maybe.
I mean, it's here on the home screen.
Oh, I see it's there on the home screen, but it's not necessarily on the events. Okay.
But I think they're referring to it being highlighted here.
On the
Like,
list as well. I see.
Even though
Yeah.
it's here, it's not intuitive which one of these you actually select.
Yes. Yeah, that would be a good feature to
so that's
as
actually
well.
a very good point.
Yeah, so on the home screen, it's not shown here. I'm not sure how up to date Troy's code base is, but there's supposed to be a floating action button oh, no, it's right there, where you can click on the plus for the post and be able to add new posts on the event. So let's give it a try. So just type in post there.
Right here?
Yes.
Okay, I can have that hashtag. Team event. Let me just post.
And it should show up on the home screen.
I think I need to pull to refresh.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, that's something that we need to improve upon, because that was the intention, that you'd be able to post and then have that going as well. All right, any other questions from the attendees? One of the things that we also wanted with the Talawa admin is that you can have pinned posts from the Talawa admin. So that would be useful for, say, you have an organization or an administrator who wants everybody in the organization to see something or some important news. For example, there could be a concert, or there could be some sort of a fundraising drive, that people would have that on that very, very top post. So what you're seeing here at the moment, where you see the Flutter is Google's mobile UI framework for crafting high quality native interfaces, you would be able to have multiple pinned posts beneath all the other posts, so that it could create announcements that wouldn't necessarily be disruptive to the general posts in general. One of the things that we wanted to make sure with the pinned posts is that they don't occupy too much space on the screen, which is why you can swipe across on the posts as well. So it's not immediately apparent here, but you can do that. Right. So Shanil has made a good point as well, that when you create a post, there should be some feedback that says post created, and maybe even have a visual notification that that's done as well. So that's something that we can add to the issue list as well.
Well, there is a feedback for it, but I think it probably just isn't as obvious. Because say I create another post, let's just call it guest post.
I'm
I go
wondering
ahead
if there's actually an issue with Oh wait, Oh, it was a successful.
yeah, it says post uploaded, but I'm not sure if that could just be a misrepresentation of what's actually happening. But I think it should be working. But I would have to look into that later.
Okay. All right, so we can add that as well. So I mean, there's the main reason why we wanted to show this is because we wanted to get the students and the attendees to get an idea as to what can be done with the app at the moment, and what we would like to see added as well, to make sure that we can get um, additional features added in. So if you're interested in coding, and if you're interested in providing um, some amount of software development work, that'd be really great. All right, so the next question. After a post has been made for the organization newsfeed, how long does it take to be reflected for the other members of the organization? It's supposed to be instantaneous. I'm not sure why it's not working on this local instance. And next question is there a reason why it doesn't take you to the newsfeed after the post has been uploaded? That's another good question. So we need to make sure that that's an issue, figure out why that's not happening in this particular case. Next question. Any other questions? All right, so I think we've come to the end of the demonstration. If anybody's interested in participating and adding to the code base, we have a number of areas in which we would really like to get some assistance in. So one would be on the Talawa admin side to handle some of the administrative tasks. The mobile app needs some work, as you can see, to make it more user friendly and have some of these obvious um, features added as well. And we also really need to make sure that we have a good testing regime for the app as well, to make sure that some of the things that we spoke about earlier cannot be done. So, for example, creating events in the past, that is something that may not be something that we would want to be able to do. I would think that the bigger thing, I mean, I can understand where you could be in a situation where you may want to have an event starting in the past, but you may not want it to necessarily end in the past. So, for example, you may have forgotten something and you've created the event and you want to backdate it a little bit for some reason, but having the event end in the past at the same time may not be the right thing. So we'll have to take a look and see what other mobile apps have done and use them as the best practices for what we want to do. And yes, now Naomi, what you're saying here is that you could do an "Are you sure?" type of query as well. One of the things that we sort of glossed over is that in the mobile app you can change your languages. And Troy, if you can just go and maybe change to a language that maybe some of the attendees may understand, like Spanish. Could you just do that for a moment?
Yeah, sure. So profile, app settings, languages, and here we go, Spanish. So let me go ahead and select. And as you can see, the app is now in Spanish.
Right.
Oh yes, we should also say that not all translations are complete yet. So even the existing ones, they may need to be updated in terms of, sometimes the context may not be perfect. So if anybody does speak other languages, you are free to update some of the strings that we have for languages that we do not speak.
Yeah.
Yes, there is. When you create an event, it has the option for creating um, recurring events. So let's go back to the English,
All right,
so
back to
that
English.
yeah, so that we don't get confused too much.
Oof. Okay, okay, English.
And then let's create an event, and you'll see that there's an option for creating recurring events. So let's click on the plus, and there you can see 3/4 of the way down the page, you can see does not repeat. Okay, so Jayan, I think that has answered your question. And so Naomi's asking what the intended architecture is. The intended architecture is that the current architecture in very broad terms is that we have a Flutter-based mobile app which communicates to a central API server which runs Node.js, and the API interface is using GraphQL. And on top of that, the web admin panel uses the same API that the mobile app uses, but the presentation layer is using, I think it was React, I think, and um, yeah, React primarily
Yeah, for the admin is
for the
React.
admin panel, right? And so from there, we have a shared API interface for two separate sets of applications. So I think there's other stuff. So we have another question. Are there any other performance requirements you had to consider when developing the app? Yes, there are some things that we've had to consider in terms of performance. One of the things that we've been trying to figure out and to work on is ways in which we can reduce the storage requirements for the app. And so, for example, if somebody uploads an image or a video and then forwards it to somebody else, do we forward that as a copy does that copy in the original file as a duplicate of the original, and how do we keep track of that? That's the first thing. The second thing is that, say for example, somebody decides to upload the image twice. For some reason, they may have gone to the same website, and two different people for two different reasons have uploaded the same file. How do you make sure that the two images are just stored as one? So in other words, how do you deduplicate images and large objects on the file system and in the storage areas as objects? So that's one of the things that we've been trying to think of. The other thing is Jason showed it when he was doing the Talawa admin thing, was that there is a performance page on Talawa admin in which we have information such as total disk space, etc. And so some of those metrics could be used to help gain or get some sort of understanding as to the performance of the application as well. So I think that partially answers the question. Okay, so what are the constraints that the system has? At the moment, the primary constraints are that the device that is installed on can handle the various types of frameworks that are running. So if it's your phone, Flutter needs to be supported, which is supported by Android and iOS. On the API side, it needs to support Node.js and the various GraphQL API things that are related to it. And then of course on the Talawa admin, it needs to be supporting React. Okay. So the next question is, what sparked the idea to start Talawa? That's a good question. And so the idea started out, and how long has it been in development? Very good, two very good questions. So the Palisades Foundation started about 5 years ago, in which we wanted to make sure that students would have an opportunity to participate in open source projects. And we got Jamaican companies to sponsor the students, and we had about 5 or 6 students the first time, we had about 5 or 6 students the second time, and we tried to approach open source projects that are well known For example, the Apache Foundation, we tried Mozilla to see whether we could get to whether we could participate in their open source projects, and we got no responses whatsoever. So we decided to start our own open source projects, and we weren't sure exactly how to do that. And so what we did for the first 2 or 3 years was that we allowed students to create their own open source projects, and we essentially tried to figure out which ones would stick, which ones would work. And after a little while, we realized that we thought that there could be something that, well, we realized that we needed something that would be able to both inspire people to contribute and inspire users to use it. And so some of the applications that we had just didn't meet those two requirements. And one of the things that is a very core feature of Jamaican life is the role of churches and religion. And we started to think about the potential for having a mobile app or an application system that could help people manage or just basically manage their congregations. Not so much from the religious side, but more from the organizational side. How do we keep track of choir practice? How do we keep track of the barbecue fundraiser? How do we make sure that the church hall isn't double booked? How do we make sure that if we have some sort of an event, that we can create better community around it, which is why we have the events being able to add members and have people to make it registerable so that people can participate and automatically join the chats related to the events, which is why the events also have the ability to add tasks to the events as well, so that you can keep track of what's going on. And so as time went on, maybe about 3 years ago, Talawa became the first incarnation of Talawa, and that was started by UWI and UTech students. And then from there, it went into a second phase in which the user interface was modified, etc. And then this year, we did a complete overhaul. The code was really, really buggy. As Jason mentions, we went to an MVVM architecture so that it would be more in keeping with best coding practices. And we started to implement a testing regime. The code base at the moment is roughly about 30%, has about 30% code coverage. And so we are actively looking for people to help us with the code coverage aspects of it as well. So it's been in development for about 3 summers. When I say 3 years, it's not really 3 full years, but it's been 3 summers. And at the moment, the code base is being actively updated on, I would say, probably about once or twice a day from students who have participated in the past, most notably the students that were working on the Google Summer of Code over the summer. They have been slowly adding more and more features to it to make sure that we can have a more robust product as well. Okay. What are some of the concerns of the current implementation of the app? And the next question is why a mobile app? So I'll come to those questions one at a time. The concerns at the moment for the app is that we have not been able to provide the basic features that we think we would like to be able to have. As you can see, there are some holes in the code base in terms of making sure that we can have some of these features enabled. We also want to make sure that the code is completely 100% automated in terms of testing. And the reason for that is because we want to make sure that the code works all the time. And though for the most part the code you haven't seen any crashes, we used to have many crashes as early as maybe about 6 months ago. It was crashing all the time, but now it's much more robust. But we really would like to see some of this back-end code health aspects of it really making more sense for us. So that would be very important for us. Okay, so I see your documentation are both organization admins and organization coordinators. Is there a difference between the two? The organization, well, Yeah, so the documentation has been lagging behind the code, and so the and so as Jason has mentioned, the documentation is an essential area for the contributions. We're now using super admins and admins to try and make sure that there's a differentiator. And so we need to go through the documentation and just do a search and replace on those terms so that it matches the terms in the mobile app. Okay, so the next question is why a mobile app? And the reason for that is because most people who would be involved with in most people who most people walk around with a cell phone. If this is going to be a community related app, then and we want to make sure that people are notified and that we can create a strong sense of community, then it's easier for us to be using an app that can be accessed by anybody in the world. And the easiest way to do that is through a mobile app in itself. The reason why we chose to go with a web application for the management behind the scenes, like creating organizations and banning users, for example, deleting, doing some amount of auditing of the posts, etc., doing general broadcasts to the general community, is because we felt that administrators would more than likely have access to a more powerful and capable general purpose computing platform like a laptop, possibly a tablet, in which we would have more screen space to handle new features that we thought that would be coming up. So that's why we decided to choose. That's why we had the split between a mobile app and the website. One of the questions that came up also was whether you could create organizations within the mobile app. And we decided not to do that because um, that would start adding more complexities to the mobile app. We thought that that would be best handled with the web application as well. Okay. Any other questions? All right, so it doesn't sound like we have any more. But so we would really encourage you all to take a look at the Palisades Foundation website, the Palisades Foundation's GitHub application. Okay, so we've got one more question from Jay on security. Yes, please go ahead. What's the question? Oh, I see. What security measures features will be put in place for the app? That is up in the air. We haven't really reached that point at the moment. And if you have, as a security focused person, suggestions that we could have, that'd be really great. We've been focusing on just the base features, and that'd be good. So, all right, so Jason, please go ahead.
Oh, there are actually some issues as it relates to security on the API, like for encryption and such. So if you're interested in that, you can actually check out the API.
Yes, Troy, go ahead.
Yeah, and to follow up on that as well, I remember there was a lot of conversation around encrypting data in the app, as it pertains to personal data as well. If you should just have it, laying there in the memory or encrypt it first, as well as what Jason said. Because I remember the discussion was primarily around if you should have a similar encryption framework like WhatsApp, peer to peer, or like we would like to figure out what ways would be best to like store people's personal data as it pertains to like it'll be on the server and stuff like that. But we never had like a final decision around it, just discussions and documentation, I think.
Right, and so we need to figure out ways in which what sort of methodology is going to be used, how we're going to be handling keys and certificates, where would the private keys be stored, how is that going to be uploaded, how is that going to be modified, where's that information get stored, those sorts of things are going to be needed. And it's not just the encryption on disk or at rest, but also the encryption of the data over the wire between the cell phone and the API on the disk itself, and then also between the mobile app and the API. Sorry, between the admin web application and the API as well. That's going to be really important. All right, so what stock technology is used for the project? Flutter for the mobile app, Node.js for the API, and React for the admin panel. Okay. Yes, it is 100% open source using the GPL v3 license. And so your contributions will be open source. If you are interested in contributing, you'll be able to show potential employers, show potential lecturers, show potential people that are interested in your code to see what you can do, and your active participation would be useful, because many times when you're doing projects, the code gets swallowed into an internal organization and you have no idea, nobody has any ideas to your skill set. And with this methodology, you can actually show people what you've done, show your contributions through the GitHub repository, and then from there have a much more complete experience in the profession that you've decided to choose. Right. So of course we've been talking a lot about code and things like that, but there's definitely a need for people to go through and do some of the critiques that we've mentioned before. The fact that some of these things don't look intuitive, they're the missing features. I click this and nothing happens, or those sorts of things. We don't necessarily need to have 100% coders for this. People that just go through and just do the general user acceptance testing, those sorts of things are necessary. We also need to have people doing the documentation to keep that up to date. We need just the general automated testing and many other things. So if there's anything that seems to be of interest to you that could be useful, please join in. And if you find any issues or problems with what you have, then open issues on the GitHub on the relevant GitHub repository. We have one called Talawa, another one called Talawa API, and another one called Talawa Admin. Talawa-docs is the repository for documentation. Right. And so, yeah, there's at the moment we need holes fixed, and we also need new features added. So there are a combination of things. So one of the best ways to get familiar with the code base is to try and fix bugs, and then from there start thinking about ways in which to add new features. That is always a good way to get started on a project. If you really want to get involved as well, once again you can try the Slack channel that I mentioned before. So just go to http http://slack.pisces.org. Okay. Any other questions before we sign off? We're almost out of time. All right. Well, thank you very much, everybody. And it's been really great to have you guys come on. Please join our Slack channel. Please feel free to create your own GitHub account, open up issues, and then from there try to even get the app, both the mobile app and the admin panel, up and running on your systems, and start participating. We need as much help as we can get, and the more people that we can get, the faster we can get to something that is worthwhile and usable. We're almost there, as you can see. The app is relatively reliable. We just need to get the features and some of the missing features and some of the slight bugs that we saw created. All right. Thank you very much, everybody, and I hope you enjoyed what you saw. And this presentation will be on YouTube as well, with all the mistakes that we've had in there as well. I'm not going to do very much editing of it. It's going to be posted as is, and you can slide through and see the sections that you're most interested in. All right. All right. Thank you very much, everybody, and I hope everybody has a good day. And please, please, please try to contribute to what we're trying to do. It's a very noble effort, and ultimately, what we really want to do is um, be able to, in the app, allow for donations. And I think that's going to be a critical feature of the mobile app, um, so that people can donate to the organizations that they're a part of. So whether that be through a membership fee for clubs, or maybe through donations for other purposes. It could be related to churches having donations of various types. It could also be used for maybe making payments or donations for events like for a barbecue, etc. Those sorts of things are going to be important. And one of the reasons why it's also important is that we would like to be able to find a way in which we can create a cloud version of Talawa. And if we can do that, then the Palisados Foundation could host the cloud version of Talawa for various organizations for a fee. And that fee would then be used to finance the Palisados organization's activities. And so we'd be able to use that money to give a small stipend to some people contributing to the project, and then also using some of that money to also um, finance the summer internship programs that we have. And so those things are going to be really important as well. So if you can think of ways in which we can create a cloud service, if you can think of ways to improve the donation and plug-in features that we'd like to have, I think that would be very useful. All right. Thank you very much, everybody, and we will hopefully meet again sometime in the new year when Google Summer of Code opens up, and we'll be able to give you some pointers as to how to apply for the Google Summer of Code with the Palisados Foundation. The standards are going to be very high, primarily because the Google Summer of Code is open to so many people from around the world, and we'll be giving you just general pointers as to what to do. There are a number of videos on the YouTube channel that were directed towards the Google Summer of Code and the GitHub internship or externship. You can take a look at that to get an idea as to what we're talking about, and hopefully from there you'll be able to get yourself on track. Even if you don't apply to the Palisados Foundation for the Google Summer of Code, you'll be able to use some of that guidance to help you with Google Summer of Code for other projects. All right, thank you very much, and I'm going to hang up because we are 2 minutes over. Thank you very much and have a good day.